Every military dictator in Pakistan needed some justification for the coup and to perpetuate his rule. General Musharraf was no exception, and he began to rope in some of the politicians and seasonal manipulators to subvert the system. One of them was constitutional expert Sharifuddin Pirzada, who had earlier assisted General Ziaul-Haq as well.
I said things have changed. Martial law will not do. You have to have a civil type of government, and you can become something like chief executive. He was first surprised, what is chief executive? So then I explained to him the constitutional configuration and the background of this.
A full bench of Supreme Court of Pakistan validated the coup. It allowed General Musharraf to rule the country for 3 years and amend the constitution if needed to run the affairs of the state. The current Chief Justice Iftikhar Muhammad Chaudhry was part of the bench. The Sharifs were implicated in multiple cases and were put behind the bars for more than 1 year. In December 2000, they struck a deal with General Musharraf and went to Saudi Arabia for 10 years of exile. Several foreign powers helped secure safe passage for the Sharifs.
Well, I think Saudis played a huge role in getting out of prison and taking him to Saudi Arabia. But certainly, Americans' role was also very significant.
The powers that made Nawaz Sharif's exile possible probably had a role in getting Musharraf out of power. Musharraf proved to be a master manipulator. He managed to use the 9/11 attacks on the US, the 2002 general elections, and the passage of 17th Amendment from Parliament in his favor.
General Musharraf's rise is as dramatic as his fall. During his heyday, he choked the voice of opposition and bypassed Parliament on many counts. He also restricted the return of former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto and Nawaz Sharif. Then came a time General Musharraf compromised with his rivals. He allowed the return of Nawaz Sharif and Benazir Bhutto to Pakistan. That meant they come in and he goes out.
General Musharraf's downfall started in March 2007 when he sacked Chief Justice Iftikhar Muhammad Chaudhry. Masses poured into the streets of the capital and other major cities. Black coats were joined by the political colors to restore the Chief Justice. Some say General Musharraf was misled by a senior Supreme Court judge. The judge advised him to send a reference against Chief Justice Chaudhry to the Supreme Judicial Council, which would be decided against the Chief Justice in a week or so.
Then he asked me, if a reference is made against any judge, then can it be over in 6 days? I said, who told you? He says, an important jurist has told me. I said, no, it takes 3 to 4 months for evidence and about a couple of months for arguments. If I had known that he is going to make a reference against Justice Iftikhar, I would have opposed it. I would have persuaded him not to do so.
The subsequent events showed one compromise after another was made and one mistake after another was committed by General Musharraf. He could not digest the restoration of Chief Justice Chaudhry by the Supreme Court. He imposed emergency on November 3, 2007, but had to remove his uniform before the 2008 general elections. His rivals won the elections, and he finally had to resign as president in August last year to avoid the impeachment. Now in 2009, the Sharifs who returned to Pakistan before the last general elections and ruled the politically important province of Punjab are in the forefront demanding the trial of General Musharraf. But on which charges he should be tried?
I think the immediate concern is what he did on the 3rd of November. That was the worst crime.
The PMLN is convinced, but may not be able to convince others.
Asking for his trial for imposing emergency looks a bit ridiculous when there is no real demand to ask for his trial for removing an elected government on 12th October 1999.
The Pakistan People's Party in the centre is not interested in Musharraf's trial, given the involvement of some important local and foreign players. It is said that present military top brass secured a safe passage for General Musharraf. The same was instrumental in negotiating Benazir Bhutto's return and restoration of Chief Justice Iftikhar Muhammad Chaudhry. But what to say of the politicians who still meet the army top brass? A recent but secret meeting between Mia Shehbaz Sharif and General Ashfaq Parvez Kiani shows they have not learned from their past mistakes.
उस खबर को एक तरफ कर दीजिएगा, मैं उसकी खबर की ना अपना आपको खुश करने के लिए ना उसकी मैं उसको अपना तस्दीक करूंगा ना तरदीद करूंगा। क्या आर्मी चीफ का मैं कोई हिंदुस्तान का एजेंट का मैं आर्मी चीफ को मेरे गुनाह?
Such behavior of politicians compels them to listen to lecture on democracy from those with controversial track record.
Main power base of the politician is the people of Pakistan, and then independent and functional parliament.
I think that this is the high time that we should try to avoid any more confrontation. We should focus on our future development. We should focus on the political stability in our country in future.
If democracy is the system which must prevail, why wasn't it allowed to flourish in Pakistan? Now, one school of thought strongly demands an exemplary punishment to General Musharraf to prevent future interventions. But there are others who think otherwise. They say instead of locking horns on the issue, the two largest political parties must work together to defeat much bigger menace of terrorism and extremism.